Picture this, a group of early humans huddled around their campfire, exhausted from another day of desperate survival. Then one of them picks up a stick and strikes a hollow log. The sound that emerges doesn't just break the silence, it awakens something primal in every human heart. That moment 4.4 million years ago gave birth to music itself. For millions of years, the African savanna had known only natural sounds, the rustle of wind through grass, the distant roar of lions, and the rhythmic breathing of sleeping animals. Early humans moved through this soundscape like ghosts, communicating only through basic grunts and urgent warnings when predators approached. Their world was dominated by survival instincts and the constant search for food and shelter. Every waking moment was consumed by the need to stay alive in an environment that seemed designed to destroy them. The concept of creating sound for pleasure or expression was completely foreign to their existence. Django's tribe had been walking for 3 days straight, following a herd of antelope that always seemed to stay just beyond their reach. Their feet were cracked and bleeding, their stomachs empty, and their spirits nearly broken by another failed hunting expedition across the unforgiving landscape. As the sun disappeared behind distant hills, they collapsed around a small fire they had managed to kindle from dry grass and friction. The exhausted group sat in familiar silence, each member lost in their own thoughts of hunger, pain, and the uncertainty of tomorrow's survival. Django absently picked up a dried branch and began poking at the fire, trying to coax more flame from the dying embers. His movements were mechanical, driven by the basic need to maintain their life-sustaining warmth through the cold African night that lay ahead. As he reached for another piece of wood, the branch slipped from his fingers and struck a hollow log they had dragged near the fire for seating. The sound that emerged was unlike anything they had ever heard, deep, resonant, and somehow alive in a way that natural sounds were not. The entire tribe froze at the unexpected sound. It wasn't threatening like a predator's growl, nor was it informational like the crack of breaking wood. This sound seemed to speak directly to something buried deep within their consciousness, awakening responses they didn't understand. Django stared at the log, then at the stick in his hand. Curiosity overcoming caution, he deliberately struck the log again. The same rich, booming tone filled the air, and this time he felt a strange satisfaction that had nothing to do with survival or necessity. Emboldened by the tribe's fascination rather than fear, Django began experimenting with different strikes, soft taps that produced gentle whispers of sound, and harder blows that created the deep chest-vibrating boom that seemed to resonate in their very bones. Without conscious thought, he began creating a simple pattern. Tap, tap, boom, tap, tap, boom. The rhythm was basic but hypnotic, matching something fundamental in their bodies, perhaps the steady beat of their hearts or the rhythm of their breathing during long marches across the savannah. One by one, the other tribe members began responding to Django's rhythm. First, it was just unconscious swaying, their bodies naturally moving to the beat he had created. Then someone began clapping their hands in time with the pattern, adding a sharper accent to the deeper drum tones. The children were the first to fully embrace this new experience, their natural playfulness overcoming any adult caution about this strange new behavior. They began dancing around the fire, their movements synchronized to Django's increasingly confident drumming on the hollow log. As the rhythm continued, one of the women began making sounds with her voice, not words, for language was still primitive, but pure vocal tones that rose and fell with the drumbeat. Her voice added an entirely new dimension to their musical exploration. Others joined in, creating a wordless chorus of human voices that blended with the percussion. They discovered that certain vocal combinations created pleasant harmonies, while others clashed unpleasantly, leading them to naturally gravitate towards sounds that felt right to their ears. Something remarkable began happening as their impromptu music session continued. The exhaustion and despair that had weighed on the tribe all day began to lift. The rhythm and melody seemed to wash away their physical pain and emotional burdens. For the first time in memory, they felt united, not by shared danger or necessity, but by shared joy. The music created an invisible bond between them that was stronger than family ties or survival partnerships. It connected them at a level that transcended their individual struggles. As the musical experience deepened, the tribe discovered that different rhythms affected them in different ways. Slow, steady beats seemed to calm their anxiety and help heal emotional wounds from recent losses and failures. Faster rhythms energized them, making their bodies feel stronger and more capable despite their exhaustion. They began to understand instinctively that this new discovery had power beyond entertainment. It could heal, motivate, and transform their emotional state in ways nothing else could. Inspired by Django's success with the hollow log, other tribe members began experimenting with different objects around their camp. They discovered that stones of different sizes produced different pitches when struck together, creating a range of percussive sounds. Hollow gourds filled with seeds or small stones became rattles that added texture to their growing orchestra. Stretched animal skins over wooden frames created new types of drums with distinct tonal qualities. Each discovery expanded their musical vocabulary and possibilities. Over the following weeks, music became an integral part of their daily routine. They developed specific rhythms for different activities, hunting songs that pumped energy into their legs during long chases, and gentle lullabies that helped children sleep peacefully. Ceremonial music emerged for important tribal events like successful hunts, births, and coming-of-age rituals. The music transformed these occasions from simple practical necessities into meaningful spiritual experiences that reinforced their community bonds and cultural identity. The tribe soon realized that music could convey information across distances. Different drum patterns could signal various messages, warnings about approaching predators, calls for help, or announcements of successful hunts that could be heard by other tribal groups miles away. This acoustic communication system gave them a significant survival advantage. They could coordinate hunting strategies, warn of dangers, and maintain contact with scattered family groups across the vast African landscape using their newly developed musical language. Music became their first educational tool, allowing them to pass down important survival information through memorable songs and rhythmic chants. Hunting techniques, seasonal migration patterns, and locations of water sources were encoded in musical forms that were easily remembered. Children learned tribal history and essential skills through musical stories rather than direct instruction. The rhythm and melody made complex information stick in their minds far better than simple repetition ever could, creating an oral tradition that would preserve knowledge across generations. Group music-making sessions became the foundation of their social structure. Shared rhythmic activities synchronized their heartbeats and breathing, creating a biological unity that strengthened their cooperation and trust in ways they couldn't fully comprehend. Conflicts between tribe members were often resolved through musical dialogue, where disagreeing parties would express their positions through rhythm and melody rather than potentially violent confrontation. Music became their first form of diplomacy and conflict resolution. As seasons changed, the tribe developed different musical traditions to mark important times of year. Rain songs were performed during dry periods, calling for the return of life-giving water. Harvest celebrations honored the abundance of fruit and grain seasons. These seasonal musical rituals helped them cope with the psychological challenges of environmental changes. The predictable cycle of musical celebrations provided emotional stability and hope during difficult periods, reinforcing their sense of control over their chaotic world. Years passed, and Django's accidental discovery had evolved into a sophisticated musical culture. Each generation added new instruments, rhythms, and vocal techniques, building upon the foundation he had unknowingly laid that first night around the campfire. Other tribes, hearing their music from across the savannah, began developing their own musical traditions. The concept spread like wildfire across early human populations, each group adding their unique cultural elements to this fundamental human expression that had emerged from desperation and flourished into art. From that first accidental strike on a hollow log came every song, every dance, every musical moment in human history. Django didn't just discover how to make sound, he unlocked something essential to the human spirit. Today, when you feel your heart race to a drumbeat or find comfort in a melody, you're experiencing the same primal connection to music that saved our ancestors from despair 4.4 million years ago. Music isn't just entertainment. It's the heartbeat of humanity itself, the invisible thread that has connected every generation since that first magical night when rhythm was born from exhaustion and hope emerged from the darkness.